Thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. And as always, I do my best to find people with great stories to share with you, fascinating, accomplished people. And today my guest is no different. He is in Pakistan, and his name is Kaswar Klasra. He is a journalist.
Kaswar Klasra, just for your viewers.
Thank you. And he has been a journalist for 16 years. He is an ABC freelance reporter, China's Daily Fair Planet reporter from Pakistan and Afghanistan. He is also an editor-in-chief of news website, the Islamabad Telegraph. He has an exemplary resume, which I cannot share in detail, as it will take up the time allotted for this interview. So welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn.
Thank you very much, Jennylyn. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So I've been following you on LinkedIn, and I've been seeing some of the amazing stories that you've been covering. And I always try to bring people like you to share with my viewers, because very few people actually get some of the stories that you've been sharing. And what I like to do is bring on the people who are doing a great job, but because there is so much news to be reported right here in the US, these stories just, go by and people don't know of them, but it always helps to have a rounded knowledge base of what's happening around the world. So for those people who watch me, I'm able to share them with you. So just tell us about your career and the most recent stories. We can get to them eventually that you've covered.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks again, Miss Jennylyn. You look great. And the work you are doing, that is really impressive, because, just to have people like me from a humble background to invite them to your show and give them coverage, it is really impressive. And thank you for having me on the show once again. And let me tell you, I started career as a singer in 2005.
A singer?
And yeah.
Well, you have to sing a song for us before we wrap up.
Because I was actually passionate for journalism. After completing my graduation, I spare not even a single second to join this, the field of journalism. And one thing let me tell you, that whenever you talk about the journalists who come from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and South Asia particularly, for journalists like me, the journalism is like a river full of crocodiles. And unfortunately, Pakistan has been, one of the dangerous countries for the journalists. A number of journalists had been killed. I think the number, if I am not wrong, it could be above 70 in a couple of decades, and 70 journalists have lost their lives. So this is just a background. But still, I was crazy about journalism, and I started as a singer, and then a largest media outlet in Pakistan, they started publication of their newly launched newspaper, that was the Post. And luckily I got a chance to work with one of the finest editors and the finest team of Pakistani journalism. The career just started in 2005, and I never looked back. And right now, as you have rightly pointed out, I'm freelancing for NBC News and working for China Daily. And it's a long list, because I love print journalism. And still, I tell juniors and the people as well, that the print form of journalism is the pioneer form of journalism. And I love to be working for the print journalism once. And right now, I am covering Pakistan and Afghanistan. Recently, I was there in Afghanistan to cover the stories from over there, had interviews with the leading Taliban members of the government as well, the chief spokesperson, off the record, on the record. Recently, because I remember you asked a question, the recent story I worked on. Recently, I have worked on a story about Taliban government's fight with IS, which is on rampage, not only in Pakistan, but also in Afghanistan as well. So I love working on these stories, and unfortunately, terrorism has been on rampage. The terrorists have been rampage in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the government with least resources in Pakistan and Afghanistan, they are just crumbling before these terrorists. ISIS is there, Balochistan Liberation Army is there, and the Tehreek Taliban, they do commonly known as TTP is there. Not only the government, the common people and the journalists, all are on their hit list. So I can tell you, working as a journalist, particularly in Pakistan, Afghanistan, is not as simple like working journalists there in the United States or on other developed countries as well. I know they understand our problem, but I believe they don't understand the circumstances in which we have to work sometimes.
I'm listening to you, and I am aware that a lot of journalists have lost their lives on the battlefield in those areas trying to bring us the stories. Do you think, because you are sort of from that culture, it's easier for you because you know the inroads, and you probably have people who can help you to get to the stories safer, whereas American journalists, they kind of stick out. They just don't look like they're from Pakistan. And I sometimes wonder if that has something to do with why we've lost so many of them. And you can let me know, because I suspect you have the answer.
Yeah, exactly. You have actually pointed out. It is not the baby's game to work as a journalist in Pakistan. And unfortunately, we are always on the hit list of the government because we have to, most of the time, we expose the high and the mightiest in the government, including the journalists, including politicians, and the top bureaucrats as well. And also, as I told you earlier, militants and the terrorist organizations have, the hideouts in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and in across South Asia. As I mentioned, ISIS, they have presence not only in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and also they're present there in, the India as well. So, with less number of, resources, with least sources, and not backing from the government and other organizations, we are always, facing threats from all the quarters. The military is there. The pressure from military is, a reality in Pakistan. Pressure from the politicians and the government all of the time, most of the time. They don't, support the journalists here in Pakistan. So in a nutshell, it is not easy to work as a journalist in Pakistan. But still, as I told you, because sometimes people ask if it is not easy to work as a journalist in Pakistan, then why have you opted to become a journalist? So it is a critical question.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It is, but it's a passion. It's a passion, and we are passionate. The journalism is a passion, and we are used to tests and other things as well. But again, as I told you, you were gonna compare the Pakistani journalists with the United States and the British journalists. I think there's no comparison. The circumstances are different. In a nutshell, I can tell you, the journalists in Pakistan, and particularly journalism, the journalists from South Asia, they are actually doing their job. I'm talking about the journalist community there in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and also the Indians as well. Whenever you discuss journalism in South Asia, it is critical. In a nutshell, it is critical for the journalists like we to work from these areas, but still we are loving it. We are loving it, and we will keep fighting because fighting for survival is priority here. Still, a lot of journalists like me. Even in 2015, I had tests from a terrorist organization, and I had to go in hibernation for 27 days. Can you believe it? I did not,
Wow.
I could not see the rising sun and other circumstances. I fear itself. It's a
I
story of
think,
every second journalist in Pakistan because they don't get backing from the government and other, yeah.
but were you born and raised in Pakistan?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Pakistan, and I hail from South Punjab, and from a very the humble family background. My father was a teacher. He has retired from job ages ago, and I have three sisters, all well educated, and two brothers. One is doing a doctorate degree from one of Pakistan's leading university in Islamabad, and my elder, brother is again a teacher. So I hail from a very humble background, and most of the journalists here in Pakistan they hail from the very humble background, but still they are doing great job. They are doing great job.
So from some conversation I had with you off the camera, I think we share the same passion as humanitarians. I mean, I'm not impressed. I'm not someone who is driven by money and power and all of this. I believe every single person is important. Every single person needs food, sleep.
That's your greatness. That is your greatness. But let me tell you, during last 17 years of my career, I have got to know the people like the anchor person. They always prefer the celebrities, the well-known people, and they feel proud to invite them over the show. So you are doing great job, and salute to you. I salute you.
Thank you. No, I do want them too, because I feel that we're all playing a part in this journey called life. They're as important as the person who is not as successful, wealthy, famous. I think we're all important. And so I've interviewed the co-founder of Apple and Oracle and many very successful people, Supreme Court judges, and I try to cover the spectrum. But I also think it's important to highlight people like you who is freelancing, because you're working equally hard with less opportunity. Because when you work for a major network, they help you to facilitate and accommodate and get certain people. Whereas people like you and I who are independent and freelancing, we have to do it all ourselves. And that's why it's important to me to offer someone like you the platform when I can, because even though I'm not big and famous, I still believe if one person is hearing you and is going to be inspired by what you are sharing, it's worth my time and it's worth your time. Because I am not doing this to become famous. I'm doing this to help people to understand what's going on in the rest of the world. Knowledge is power. And people do not read as much as they used to. A lot of people like listening to podcasts or watching television. And just like you, this is my passion. But you're not going to find me in a war zone.
I would again stress that you are doing great job, and keep fighting for the people like me, and keep on highlighting their plights. Actually, no, I am a well-settled journalist. I have been to 40 countries around the globe, and have done a number of the stories from Turkey, Dubai, and Afghanistan, and the Pakistan is the main thing as well. And I have been to India for 3 times, and this a number of stories from over there. And while sitting there in the United States, you can't believe how difficult and how critical it is for any Pakistani or for any Indian journalist to cross the border and do stories as well. But as I told you earlier, risk is a part of the journalist. We have to take risk. And definitely, if you have passion, you're wise, and you have clear, you have clear thoughts about what you are doing at the moment. I think these a number of factors play important role to accomplish your goals, accomplish your stuff. And it has been, 17 years, 16 years and 8, 9 months. I have been a journalist and have done a number of stories. Unfortunately, the journalists like me have been covering terrorist organizations and the political instability, military coups, and other things. And society is really corrupt in Pakistan.
Mhm.
And when you knock at the door of the corrupt people to come up with the stories, expose their corruption scandals, definitely threats are over there. And the same is the case with me, and also a number of journalists like me as well. We face threats on regular basis. But one thing I can assure you is we will not back down. We will not back down. We will keep on exposing the high and the mighty, not only in Pakistan, but also in Afghanistan and everywhere. And definitely when you expose the bureaucrats, the military officers, the politicians, even the prime minister, we don't spare the prime minister as well. And tests are there, and we know how to deal with the tests as well. Just, wish us good luck. And the journey has been continuing for last 16 and a half years, and it
Yes.
will go on. But let me tell you, it has not been a smooth journey. It has not been, because I hail from South Punjab, from a very modest family. I came to practice journalism in Islamabad, and right now I'm sitting in the capital. It has not been a smooth drive for me. Sometimes you get support from the family and the friends, but for most of the time, you don't have the backing of your family, your friends, and also the government in Pakistan, the country like Pakistan. They forget about them. They never backed journalism. And to give you shock, even in Pakistan, we don't have any, government source of funding to investigate other things. We don't have fellowships here in a country like Pakistan. So still, things are not easy to practice journalism here. But I was lucky, like hundreds of the people out of thousands, that we have settled down, and now we are enjoying practicing journalism here as well.
Well, you need to keep doing what you're doing, because what I did as a journalist during COVID, because I had the time, I went across all of the major networks and watched them reporting the same story. And it was amazing to me, the different spin on the same story. And I thought to myself, so I have another friend who is a freelance reporter for CNN. And this is someone I know has integrity. So when he reports something, I know he's reporting the story as he has found it. There's no spin on it, because he's freelance, as are you. And so for me, I would rather listen to your reporting than CNN, ABC, Fox, because the differences are so blatant. It makes me sad for people who frame their lives around the stories that they're watching on any particular network. And It's so sad that we live in a world where it's so easy to bring information, but you have to filter. You have to filter it if it's important for you to make judgments based on what is being reported for your safety, because you aren't necessarily getting it the way it's happening. You're getting it with a spin based sometimes on the political views, based on whichever government party that network wants to support. And it's really very sad, because when things happen, if you're going to report it, you should report it as it has happened, not with the
Exactly.
spin to benefit your agenda. And this makes me sad as a journalist, but I'm a woman, I'm an independent woman, and I have no business getting on a plane and going to Afghanistan or Pakistan to get a story, because I would be writing my death wish. So I applaud men like you who are doing what those of us cannot do. And instead, what I do is I get the story from you because I trust you as a source. Although I've just met you, I've been reading some of what you've written, and I believe that you're bringing the truth to the forefront. So the platforms will go looking for the news. All we want to know is the truth, you know?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I guess you were asking about the story I have done. Let me give
I
you
was just going to tell you,
yeah.
I was going to ask you to share that last story you just covered with us. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. One thing is really, clear, crystal. When you work for any foreign media outlet, especially the Americans and the British, I worked for Daily Mail as a freelancer for 3 years. And I worked for Los Angeles Times, the Media Alliance, and now the NBC News.
Right.
The editors over there, I must appreciate my editor. She is based in Hong Kong and looking after the affairs in South Asia. She's Jennifer Judd. She has been backing and fully supporting me. I did 4 investigative stories for NBC News and 1 from Balochistan. I did a story about the plight of the woman here in Pakistan. And we are living in a modern era. Pakistan is a nuclear armed state. It's a modern country, but sadly, the women are not empowered still as compared to the one in America and the British or in well-developed countries. The roadmap for the women here is sadly not smooth. And I did an investigative story for the NBC News and gave them coverage. And my editor, Jennifer Judd, she fully supported me. And the support I got from her was not even possible if I was working for any leading media outlet in Pakistan. And she did tremendous job. I told her, ma'am, I am facing threats. And she was worried. The first reaction was, Kaswar, just dropped a story. Your safety is priority, and we don't want you to work on this story anymore. But I insisted because I told her, ma'am, the thing is, we journalists are used to face threats. So if we are facing threats from some certain quarters, so it's not, it's a part of the journalism. So just support me. I will make sure that my life is not threatened. But certain threats were there. My editor. Yes.
How can you ensure your safety?
She actually forced me to drop this story right now. She asked me a couple of months ago. When I was working on this story, she told me to drop this story, but I insisted. I got all the support from the news organizations and my editor, and our story got hit And let me tell you, on the basis of their story, the government in Pakistan was really, under pressure. They backed down. And this is the beauty of journalism. When
Yes.
you have clear thoughts, you work on a genuine stories, you work hard, investigate on merit, and you have the backing of your editors
Yes.
and the organization. That is the beauty of journalism. Even the government sometimes have to back down. It was the first story, the first example. Secondly, as I told you, last year in October, I
Yes.
went there in Kabul, and it was extremely risky for any Pakistani journalist to go over there reporting for any media, foreign media outlet. I mean, not Pakistan, but all the Western media. And but I have to take risk because the risk is the part of our department, our profession. I went there, and but again, let me tell you, I took all the precautions, and while I was there in Kabul, I have been, taking all the precautions to score my security and the life as well. But I was glad to know the government there had done impressive job to maintain law and order. But again, the women are under pressure over there. The women are forced by the newly, the interim government of Taliban. And I met a number of women there. And I have to went undercover as well. But I dug out information from over there. We did a story, and it was the story was a big bang, not only for the Western media, but also in Afghanistan and Pakistan and South Asia as well. So I believe whenever you work on merit, you take risk and take precautions as well. So I think there is nothing impossible. And we are young journalists, and we have to go a long way. I am under the impression sometimes the journalists like me have to take risks as well. And after the story got published, I got a number of messages and calls. I still wonder where did all those who sent messages, who called me, I'm not sure where did they get my number. But
They're
to
resourceful, just like
yeah,
you.
I don't know where did all of them got number. And from a dozen people, I remember, I will not name her. She was an ex-student of Kabul University, and with American accent. She was good at English language. She spoke, for instance, I thought she was not Afghan, rather someone from the United States and maybe from British as well. That is pure accent. She appreciated my effort. Mr. Klasra, you have done great job, and please continue fighting like this because we need the help from the journalists like you. And even she insisted that if I can do something for you. And I said, just pray for our safety, and we will keep on fighting like this as well. Afghanistan, another part of this story is I received call from the spokespersons of Afghanistan government, Mr. Zabiullah Mujahid. He actually asked me that he was eager to meet me. Again, even my story, which I had done, was critical of the newly established Taliban government. But
Yes.
still, I accepted the invitation, and I traveled to Kabul once again. I accepted the invitation. I
Do you
traveled to
go
them.
undercover? Do you go undercover when you've been exposed and you're going back? Do you go undercover?
No. I don't go undercover. But actually, what I wanted to tell you is when I was there in Kabul, it was not easy for me to meet some women activists, right? And I had to go undercover there just to meet them because the entire government of Taliban, they have great human intelligence. It is not easy for journalists like me to move freely and meet the activists freely. So I have to, go undercover to meet some the woman activists, and that is how I collected the information and did a story. And after that, I traveled once again to Kabul. I was actually worried as well, but again, as I told you, sometimes we have to take risks, and I took the risk once again. I went over there. They were pleased to see me once again. I have done interviews over there. I asked critical questions, but they were forced to answer politely. And I again came back and I did a story for the Islamabad Telegraph, and I published the interview and also the broadcasted it as well on the YouTube channel of Islamabad Telegraph. So the point I want to raise is, if you have clear ambitions, you want to serve the community, you are fearless, but a couple with if you are wise to take some precautions and obey the international rules of journalism, I think everything is possible. Sometimes I review my career, and I thank God. Yes, I came from a very humble background, but the way I served community was really impressive, and I am satisfied. I am truly satisfied. Additionally, I must tell you, my wife is a medical officer. She did the Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery, and we were forced to quit job. She was forced to quit job just because of my criticism of the government policies. And now she is sitting at home. She had to quit job, and now she's taking care of our two lovely kids, and we have no regret at all. I am practicing journalism, and now she is working as a housewife. So sometimes you have to face, the backlash from the government and the high and mighty departments as well. And when I was practicing journalism in my early days, and I used to get calls from the families because they were government officers, and sometimes my the younger sister would call me, my brother, we are facing the criticism and threats just because of your reporting. So please either choose us or choose journalism. Please stop working on this story and blah blah blah. Because follow-up is very important in journalism, and my families have been under severe pressure in my early days of my career. But glad it is over now. Sometimes I tell my friends. Sometimes I tell my friends, yes, journalism is like a river full of crocodiles, but we have become a crocodile as well. So there is no threat at all now.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I want to make sure I ask you this question before we wrap up. Can you believe 45 minutes is already gone? But listen, I wanted to share this with you. Some years ago, I worked with a woman from Pakistan. She used to be a flight attendant. And when I met her, both of her ankles were broken. And she came to work with both ankles casted. And I asked her, how did you break both ankles? And she told me she was a flight attendant, and she was home in Pakistan, and she had painted her toenails, and she was wearing sandals, and the Taliban broke her ankles because she was not supposed to be out in public with polished toenails or
Oh
showing
my
her
God.
toes. And so that story, that really bothered me. I mean, as a woman, I can't imagine someone telling me not to polish my toes or not to show them because it's not a relatable situation. I've never lived in a culture where I'm being controlled on that level. What I want to ask you is this still happening? And how is all of your effort and all of you bringing all these stories to the surface, to the world, has it improved that situation for women in Pakistan?
Well, sadly, nothing has changed. Women are working in all of the departments for years, but when we talk about the freedom they are supposed to get, sadly, my question, the answer would shock you. And in a
Yes.
one-liner, the situation for the Pakistani women has not improved at all. They are still fighting for the basic, human rights as well. I give you two examples. In any society or in any country in developed era, let give examples of Pakistan. A well-educated lady who is supposed to have done masters in English and Islamic studies or anthropology or anything, she got a university degree, and then when she applied for job, there are no various fields she can apply. First thing. Secondly, if she is lucky to get government job, let me give you example of a teacher here. Guess, can you guess how much does a teacher, especially the female teacher, gets salary in Pakistan? Can you guess? Any guess?
Let me stop you. The female teacher, her salary is different from a male teacher?
Yeah,
And they're
sometimes.
teaching and they're teaching the same subjects?
Exactly.
I don't understand.
Pakistan, hang on, please. Pakistan is a male-dominant society, and all the lucrative jobs goes to the males. Females have limited choices, and I would like to tell you, a primary school teacher here in Pakistan gets $150, or in sometimes $200 per month. $200 per month. A school teacher in Pakistan gets $200 per month. So it's not an easy job for the woman in Pakistan, and it's just an example. Teachers, doctors, they're truly underpaid here in Pakistan. And I was collecting a data from Health Department of Pakistan. Most of the female doctors, they they are left with no choice other than sitting back at home after getting married, because the male dominant society does not support them the way they are supposed to get support from the society. One thing. Secondly, an overall situation, rapes are common here. And when the Pakistani journalists and the Pakistani society, loudly, accused the Indian society that rape are common over there, the women are being beaten up in the buses and the trains as well. But same is the condition here in Pakistan as well. And every year we celebrate the Women International Day, but on the other hand, we are not ready to give them their due rights. So, regarding your question, it's not smooth sailing for the Pakistani women, and most of the time, the Pakistani women activists, they get threats. It has restored, I think. So I was telling you, don't forget what happened to Malala Yousafzai. She was hit in head she got a bullet in head just for raising voice for the women and children. And I have another woman activist. She had to leave Pakistan just because she was raising her voice for the to expose the society and the government when it's come to discuss the women's rights. So
Yes.
in one line, in a nutshell, things are not good for the women here in Pakistan. Rapes are common. They are thrown. Acid attacks are very common here in Pakistan. And if I know a number of the women who has to face acid terrorism just because they refuse to get married with the men, and they rejected the marriage proposal and were served with acid on their faces. And let me tell you, we have a prime minister right now. His name is Shehbaz Sharif. He's the younger son of Mr. Nawaz Sharif. And
We're out of time, but no, but I'll let you finish.
Just one moment, please. Yeah. She has second wife. His name is Tahmina Durrani, and she has been doing great job. She has founded an organization, TDF, Tahmina Durrani Foundation, and the Tahmina Durrani Foundation has been doing great job to help the young ladies who had faced the acid terrorism in Pakistan. And even the first lady is desperately working to save the women in Pakistan. So in a nutshell, things have improved a little bit, but still women are far away from getting their rights they are supposed to get.
When I'm interviewing someone like you, I need an hour, except I know people don't really listen to it in its entirety if I make it too long. But the information you've shared with me, I am so grateful. We read of these stories, like we see it on mainstream media, or we may hear a podcast here and there. But it's always nice to get it from someone like you, whose job is to bring stories and who is really aware of what is going on. And so I'm very grateful to you. I know this is late at night for you. Thank you for working with me on that. And I'm just going to continue to send them love and support, because someone like you and I, we can sit here and discuss this until we're blue in the face, but we are powerless to make any changes. And while you're relating all the stories that you've been bringing to the platform and to the forefront, in my mind, I'm thinking, what can he do with all this passion to really create and effect change? But as we all know, it takes more than one man to change the show. I'll share I think I may have shared a story in another one of my interviews or on a podcast, but I'm going to share it before I go, simply to encourage you not to ever give up on what you're doing or what you're fighting for. A little boy was sitting on the beach with his father when a huge wave washed a whole ton of jellyfish on the beach. And the kid, who loved animals, he was mortified. He couldn't believe that all these fish are going to die. So he woke his father up. His father was sleeping on the beach, and he goes, "Papa, all the fish, they're going to die. We got to throw them back in the water." So his father got up and looked at all the fish and said, "We could never do this. Look how many of them. It's only 2 of us." And the little boy ignored his father, started picking the fish up, throwing them back in the ocean. And pretty soon, everyone on the beach got up and started doing it. And they were able to save the majority of the fish. So moral of the story is, don't give up. Don't stop doing what you're doing. Keep on doing it. And sometime before we leave the planet, hopefully things will change for women in that part of the world. And I thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired, and I will see you next time with another fascinating guest and story.